Welcome back. So the question therefore is, has the CBK monetary policy really tried to intervene in these numbers that we're talking about this morning? Now, which makes us look at where the CBR has been throughout really, because we are still stuck on that magical 7, and that's where that's where we have been really. All right, let's cross over to Odhiambo Ramogi this morning. Ask the question, have they done enough to mitigate the inflation numbers that we're talking about this morning, Odhiambo Ramogi?
Well, Simba, in terms of, having a better or a greater economic environment for business,
yes,
you need to do two things. One is the fiscal policy, and the other is the monetary policy.
Yes.
The monetary policy is the responsibility of the central bank. Of course, under the leadership of the Minister for Finance still, but the fiscal policy is the sole responsibility of, in this case, Treasury for national government and treasuries for the county governments. Now, for you to have a successful measure, the two need to be in tandem and well balanced. So I was surprised. So yes, in terms of is central bank doing the right thing, I think they are. If I was in their shoes, I wouldn't have done any better. The monetary policy in the country has remained stable, has remained depoliticized, very professionally managed, and actually very successful in the last year.
Yes.
The fiscal policy, on the other hand, is drama. In fact, I was surprised when Treasury was releasing these figures because they sounded like they are surprised that the inflation has gone up. And they are the very ones who proposed taxes on gas, taxes on, call products or mobile phone services products, taxes on digital products. And then they are like, oh, we are surprised this inflation figure has gone up. What did you expect? Naturally, the inflation figures will go up when, of course, you tax something as basic as gas or energy, for that matter.
Yes.
So you find even the food and non-beverage items that are listed there, I would not be surprised if the biggest component or element of that increase is in fact energy, because that is a big factor in food production, food distribution, and accessibility. And so, yes, the central bank is doing the right thing. I am not sure I can say the same of Treasury and those others, the other small ministries of finance in the county government.
Pretty much. All right, and clear for us this conversation this morning before we move into the last issue that we have for you. So when we look at these numbers, Anna, how will this inflation likely affect Kenya's industrial economy in the month of September? Because when you look at these numbers again, let me just take you back to where they were. It looks as if transport again accounts for 7.93%. If you look at that, housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels at 5.07%. So to a bigger degree, when talking about fuel and transport, then you're talking together, those two could give you at about 6-point-something% in average.
Even with the high inflation, September is going to be kind of a balance, because you see, as much as the fuel inflation has gone high,
yes,
with the matatu now carrying into capacity, now the fares have reduced, so that's at least better. And EPRA, we've seen they've maintained the fuel price. They have not changed the fuel prices for the last couple of months. But for housing, what I believe is going to be the highest challenge is the water index. You see, we all have to pay for water and everything, and there are those when you want to pay rent, there are those that the rent is inclusive of water, but those that is not inclusive of water, they will indeed see this challenge and this inflation to them, because they'll be paying higher water prices. And also for those, let's say you want to to buy a house right now, obviously they'll have to include inflation in when they're selling to you that house, because of just the housing index inflation has been increasing over the past few months.
Pretty much. All right, let's get into the last issue this morning. Well, Homeboyz Entertainment reported improved performance for the period ending at 30th of June 2021, with its profits increasing to 2.3 million from a net loss of 3.8 million in the same period in 2020, in what was its second release of financial statements since listing on the Nairobi Securities Exchange NSE GEMS segment in December 2020. Revenue for the company, however, decreased by 4% to 63.3 million from 66.2 million in June 2020. Its direct costs were cut down to 26.8 million in the first half of this year from 29.6 million in the first half of 2020, with its administrative costs also dropping to 12.8 million from 25.5 million in the period under review. The entertainment firm indicated that its results were largely affected by the COVID-19 containment measures introduced earlier in the year, with a boost to their revenue through its contracts with the Football Kenya Federation, FKF, Kenya Open Golf Tournament, and the World Rally Championship held in June this year. Now, the company is upbeat about its performance this year as the COVID-19 containment measures continue to be relaxed and entertainment activities return to pre-pandemic levels. Chacha, let's look at that and look at that statement. There's a company saying that indeed the results were heavily affected by the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, we expected that for anybody who was in this industry, then you're really going to feel the heat of these containment measures. But then again, majority of that revenue boost came from that contract with the Football Kenya Federation, FKF, Kenya Open Golf Tournament, and the World Rally Championship held in Kenya in June this year. 3 events that were really around that company coming back to their profitability this year. Chacha, how, I would say, complex is this environment now within the COVID-19 pandemic? Because Homeboyz now finds itself right within the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, Simba, the Homeboyz is purely an entertainment industry that is listed in the Nairobi Stock Exchange as a growth enterprise market segment. Obviously, the COVID-19, as you put it, has had an adverse impact on the revenue or the income generation on the part of Homeboyz. And this now here, Simba, raises questions that if it were not for the 3 important events you have mentioned,
yes,
then Homeboyz would have continued registering huge losses. That means that now Homeboyz, as an entertainment industry, has to rethink, has to re-strategize on how it generates income. Because being an entertainment industry, and now with the COVID-19, much of the business has gone online, has gone virtual. Because here we have Homeboyz as brands, as the radio section, it has the TV, and it has online products. So it means Homeboyz, for it to get more revenue, in fact, more than what it has registered, that is the revenue of 2.3 million, for it to go to around 10 million, maybe by the end of the year, or by early next year, Homeboyz has to rebrand itself, concentrate more on giving digital products, virtual products that now many consumers can take. And with the relaxation of the containment measures, we are having more sporting activities, more events. So Homeboyz now will continue to sponsor. It will continue to get contracts with many of the sporting events that will come up. I think even the Kenyan League is back in place. We have even the golf tournaments are back in place. And from this, we expect Homeboyz to perform much better than before. But they have to think of new ways of raising revenue in the digital space. Thank you.
Pretty much. And let's get into that as well. And I'll be asking you to summarize Homeboyz' performance in the first 6 months of 2021. They're coming down from a net loss of 3.8 to 2.3. But again, their revenue also decreased 4% to 63.3 million from 66.2 million in June 2020. Now remember, this is a company that is hopefully looking to list on the main market segment for NSE. And how would you summarize that performance?
For the performance, from a loss to a profit of 2.3 million is indeed recommendable.
Yes.
And we can commend them for that. And you see, what boosted this performance is the contracts they got from the Safari Rally, the Kenya Open Golf Tournament, etc. But also what also improved the bottom line is the reduced expenses. Last year, they had indicated that they'll send majority of their staff on unpaid leave, and this also saw their administrative costs declined by 66% to 12.9 million from the 38 that was last year. And even with the reopening of the economy, the uplifting of the government restrictions, we've seen last year most events were postponed, most events were cancelled. This year, as much as most events have been cancelled, or even if they are going to be there, there's a limit on 25 people if there's a public gathering. This will also impede their growth even as we go to full year 2021. If they continue the momentum of signing more contracts and improving their revenues, then this momentum of a profit will continue to full year. But if the pandemic continues to take a toll on the economy, if the vaccination does not go as planned, if not many people are vaccinated, and you see opening the economy is tied into vaccination. If more people are not vaccinated, that means the economy will reopen at a slower pace. And as Chacha put it, the Homeboyz is mainly in the entertainment industry, and their main source of revenues, even pre-pandemic, was in the organizing the events, hiring the projectors, the etc. If the economy is not reopened, if events don't go back to pre-pandemic levels, then Homeboyz will continue to suffer in the short term until all this is solved. But I read that they are now signing long-term contracts for like 3 years to 10 years, and if they continue to sign in more contracts, this will also help in improving their revenue.
Fantastic. Odhiambo Ramogi, it's quite a tough industry to crack within the pandemic, and you can see exactly that. The majority of the revenue was for the 3 contracts that they got. If they hadn't gotten this, then we would have been talking about loss trends again for Homeboyz. When you look at it now in 2021 and going by this result, what do you think the opportunities are going to come from as we continue into the year, Odhiambo Ramogi?
Well, first of all, I'm not excited about the performance in terms of the profitability.
Yes.
Because if you look at the report, the revenues are lower than they were in June of last year.
Yes.
Which tells you then that they had very little business between June last year and June this year, as opposed to June last year and June 2019. So they are not out of the woods yet. It's going to be a tricky place to be, because even as a country, we are not out of the woods with this pandemic yet, and as a globe, really. So on this one, I would agree with Chacha that they need to diversify their product range. And I think this is why, and I'm not marketing my career line or my professionalism, but this is why you need an economist in a board to know that if you're diversifying, you do not diversify in the same industry. You guys are in entertainment, and then you diversify into media, and then you diversify into events management. It's just the same thing. I mean, in case of a pandemic, all your product range is, down. Nothing is generating any income. They could have diversified into something else, like producing of t-shirts or something. That would have helped. But that is just one side of the coin. The other side is pivoting. Yes, the pandemic has come. We are where we are, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. So what are your options? Your options are, more and more I'm seeing events organizing going online. I know organizations, I know organizations that are looking for global event managers that can organize these online conferences and, make sure that the online conferencing facilities are available to everyone, the emails are sent on time, etc. I would be keen for someone like Homeboys with a credible history and is listed at the stock market to apply for some of these jobs and actually organize online conferences, online workshops, online events. And so that pivoting has not happened as fast as it could. But that said, they have managed the situation, they have managed their costs. Ironically, they are doing better in terms of management than Kenya Power. They're doing better in terms of management than Kenya Airways. I think some of their managers should be poached by the other two companies because they know what needs to be done in a pandemic. And so, yes, I will commend them in terms of managing costs. In terms of perhaps dealing with the times as they have come, they need to diversify and pivot, and they haven't done that as much as they should.
Fantastic. And on that note, that is your Friday business here on a Metropole Television. I'd like to say thank you very much to Odhiambo Ramogi and Nchacha for making time to join us this morning for this conversation. Take them back to the time that they came online at Metropole TV KE across all your social media platforms on YouTube at Metropole TV Kenya. Once you're there, a subscription and a comment will be much appreciated. Good morning. My name is Simbelaja Charles Kiage.